Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Ages. In the last part we beat the first dungeon, destroyed the second dungeon in the present, and now we're in the past to try and find a way into it. Now this cave over here that I'm going into is entirely optional. There's nothing you need to do in here at all required for story. I'm just in here for the treasure chest. Now these enemies right here, these beetles, I think a variation of them was in Minish Cap. I forget entirely, honestly. But the only way you can defeat them is by knocking them into a pit. I think there's another way you can beat them in Ages and Seasons, but I'm not entirely sure. It's been a while. And in this treasure chest, we got a Gasha Seed. I should mention, by the way, I did plant a Gasha Seed off-screen back at the town, just so I could have it by the end of the second dungeon. Thankfully, this forest, which is called the Deku Forest in the past, by the way, is much more linear in the past. Also, you want to burn this bush because we can enter this cavern here. I believe later on you can enter the cavern that's on the southern end, but we want to enter from here because we can get the fourth piece of heart. And that's our first heart container from a not boss. 5 heart containers and we're not even at the second dungeon. This is Minish Cap all over again, actually. Actually, how many did I have by the first dungeon in the original? I think I had more than 5, actually. I should go back and look. And with that, we're also a third of the way done with heart pieces, but yet again, they're gonna span the entire game other than that, so, don't worry. Now, up and coming here on this next screen, there's a bush right there. That is a business scrub. You can talk to him and buy a shield for 30 rupees if you haven't done so already. However, I don't recommend doing that from him. Why? Because in this cave, if you go all the way to the left, if I recall correctly, there's another staircase that will lead you to the left side of the next screen we're coming up to. On that side of the screen, there is another business scrub who sells a shield for 10 rupees, the cheapest you can get one for in the game. So I recommend waiting until then if you haven't gotten one already. For better clearance, I mean that bush on the left side of the screen right now. Anyway, right here we got another seed tree which has mystery seeds. These have multiple effects depending on what you use them on. Just select them by going to the bag and then selecting them, and you can use them on the owl statues to get various hints. We're going to be using these for a while. Also, I cut to the other side of the staircase just to save time. But why can't I move? Oh, hello there, soldier man. Apparently, the mystery seeds have been being searched for by the queen, and he's going to take us to the palace. Time to meet a queen, yay! By the way, I love the palace's song. It's one of my favorite songs in the game, actually. What have you brought before me? Mystery seeds! Nehru desires these mystery seeds more than anything else. She'll be most pleased. By what name do you go, boy? Link, I offer a reward. Link. Bring it here. Link, this is your reward. Take it with great thanks. So why is the queen giving me a weapon of mass destruction? My palace is very large. You will not be able to find the way out alone. I'm pretty sure it's just 3 screens south. I should be good. Will that boy be able to return? Link. Ha! You've done well. First you led me through the barrier. Now you bring me mystery seeds. Such a nice boy. Taking advantage of people's kindness is too easy. This makes one less thing that can obstruct my ambitions. But these mystery seeds are unpleasant. Their sight and smell. Anyhow. Queen Ambi. Now with my powers, the flow of time is yours to command. For you, I shall create a day that never ends, so the people will never sleep and work on the tower can continue. And when the tower reaches the heavens, you shall go down in history as the greatest queen to ever live. Oh, I shall be known as a great queen. Nehru, Oracle of Ages, give me an endless day so the people can work without stopping to rest. Young and old alike will work toward my ends. They totally don't have the same voice, by the way. What are you talking about? We are closer to the Age of Shadow, but it's still premature. The true shadow will fall when the black tower reaches the heavens and I climb to its highest turret. Then it will come. Well, that's plot advancement, I suppose. Now, as for where we are actually right near the gacha seat in town. This is where I was originally going to point it out, but yeah, I did that off screen. Also, along the way I ran into Maple, one really funny thing is when you run into her in the past the first time, she mentions that she came through this weird time tunnel, and it's questioning why we're here as well. That's a funny little detail, I suppose. Yet again, she only shows up every 30 enemies, but there is a way you can abuse that with this screen. I'm probably going to have to end up doing that later on. Anyway, here we are at the dungeon, because now we have bombs. The way I use them, press the button again to throw them. The peace ring that I got last part will prevent them from exploding in my hands, but I don't have it with me. Anyway, welcome to level 2 of the Wayne Dungeon. And we got new enemies right off the bat, spiny beetles. The way these guys work, they are unstoppable unless you bump them away with your shield. Fairly simple stuff. And right here, by the way, is a puzzle that screwed me over so many times when I was a kid. When I was a kid, this was the farthest I could get for about a year. Well, not quite that drastic. I had my mom help me out with it. I sucked with puzzles as a kid. Then again, I also started out with Seasons, which is the more action-oriented of the two games. I'll get more to the origins of the two games probably within a part or two, but for right now we have dungeons to go through. I don't know why I moved that out of the way when I could have just moved right. Anyway, let's blow up. Oh god. Yeah, make sure you're holding a direction when you throw a bomb, otherwise he'll just drop it on top of you. And over here, we got the dungeon map. Let's take a look at what we're looking at here. Ooh, a birdie. And some weird little thing underneath it. Yeah, they decided to introduce you to multiple floor dungeons very early on, but they're nothing to worry about at this point because the first floor is the second floor rather, or first basement floor, there we go, is really tiny. I don't know why I'm out to kill the bats. I'm not. Another new enemy here, Sparkies. They are invulnerable as far as I'm aware. I think the boomerang might be able to do something to them later on, but I don't quite recall. And here we have a tradition for 2D Zeldas. Kill the mall rooms. Just kill the Keese and the big moblins, and the key shall appear. And that's the entire reason we came out this direction, is for the key. We actually have to head back to the starting room now, because it's where the locked door I showed off was. You know, for some reason I really like the sound effect that plays when you move the blocks. I don't know why. Then again, admittedly, Oracle of Seasons, this game's sister, I suppose, was one of the first Zelda games I played. But I'll get more into that when I get to Seasons eventually. And by eventually I mean immediately after this game, but that's going to wait a while first. Anyway, over here we got the compass. And we want to bomb this wall. Also, with the compass, I'm really glad they don't mention the chime that plays whenever you're in a room with a chest, specifically a key chest, I believe. Because in Link's Awakening, they mention that every time you get the compass, and it's a really long-winded explanation. Anyway, this is the first dungeon to have these little platforming segments right out of For Frog the Bell Tolls, which, as I mentioned in that Let's Play, is the predecessor to these games. We also got a thwomp. However, I fumble around in here uselessly because I forget that you can just walk right past this one. For some reason, I thought I had to land on top of it. I'm thinking of a later area in the dungeon, if I recall correctly. Oh, you little... Oh, I'm low on health, too. Fantastic. And for doing that, we get another small key. Well, I'm in a very precarious predicament, aren't I? Whenever I have to go through a platforming segment again, just to get back to a room I've already been in, I will be cutting past it, by the way. Just to save some time. I might be low on health, but honestly, I'm not too terribly nervous about it because I know how the enemies in this game work for the most part. Plus, I know there's a health restore coming up fairly soon, though I will admit I was kind of hoping health would show up. Anyway, we got minecarts, which move kind of slow, honestly. The ones from Minish Cap, these ain't. Actually, that was one of my favorite gags in Minish Cap, just Link screaming from how fast the thing was going. Anyway, mini-boss time. One with no wings is no match for me. This guy has a name that I can't recall, so I'm gonna look it up. How he works is that he'll fly up in the air and try to crash down on you. When he crashes down on you is the time to hit him. He's not that hard, honestly, but watch out because he does do a lot of damage if you're not expecting it. Let's see, this guy's name is Swoop. There we go. I am breaking out the powered ring level 2 just because it'll do more damage against him. And if he swoops down on top of one of the panels in the middle, he will break it. I believe that leads to the room that leads back into this room due to the sideways platforming segments, but honestly, if you stand on the blue tiles, you're not going to fall. Yeah, I went the wrong way there for a second, because you need to go down these stairs first, not the ones down there. The enemies in here are robe Stalfosses. They'll throw things at you. Same with this room. But the first off, I don't know why I didn't just jump across to the right, because you could do that just to save yourself time. But in the previous room, there were these spark-looking enemies. Those are anti-fairies. They are not like the ones from the original game, I believe, that prevent you from using your sword, but they'll become a bit different later on. Now, I'm not actually going to be talking to every owl statue because I know what I'm doing for the most part. But I recommend doing so if it's your first playthrough because they will give you pretty useful hints. Anyway, over here we got the dungeon item, which is Rock's Feather. We feel as light as a feather. This, like the Rock's Cape from Minish Cap, is a jump button, essentially. So now we can jump up little 1 to 2 blocks like that. Now, I'm actually thinking yet again I'm in a later area. What you're supposed to do here is jump into that little alcove to the left of the thwomp to get 30 rupees, but otherwise, there's nothing to do in that room. What we want to do is jump over this tile twice to make it red to open the door. Yeah, the Rock's Cape isn't just for platforming. They do use it for quite a few puzzles in this dungeon. Don't you hate it when things get stuck in walls like that? That's actually one of my least favorite things about the Game Boy Zelda games. Stuff can happen like that very easily. Anyway, hit this switch here, because otherwise you're going back into that room. And we're good. Now, I had to think about this room really quickly, because I realized, wait, I have to do something else before doing this, because to the wall on the right there's a bomb in a little wall, but I forgot about that until right about now. I really should start doing test playthroughs of these dungeons before I actually record them, because otherwise I might fumble around a bit like this. And yet, once again, another kill them all room. You know, when I was a kid, I thought the robed Stalfos, which are the guys with the swords in this room earlier, were old men in robes because the skulls looked enough like beards to me. I had a weird imagination as a kid. Anyway, here we got another dice puzzle. Whenever you have one like this for a traffic light, you need to make it blue, so you can go. I'm not sure how blue equates to green, but okay. Then again, don't some areas have blue lights for green? I remember back in my hometown in Florida when I was a kid, we had a light that never turned green, to the point where there was a sign that said, "This light never turns green," and now it's hanging in a restaurant. I should visit that town again someday, because, that's an awesome town. Anyway, that's a rather self-explanatory puzzle, just do that to get another key. And we've gone full circle in this area. We're now done in this floor for now. Next, we want to come up here and use a key on that. And we want to go down here first because there is a traffic light blocking our way that we need to correct. A lot of the early game puzzles, I'll admit, are rather self-explanatory, but you're going to notice that this game's puzzles get kind of brutal later on. In fact, Oracle of Ages, I will say right now, yet again, I mentioned earlier how I'll get more into the origins of Oracle of Ages and Seasons later, but out of the two, Ages is definitely more puzzle-focused, whereas Seasons is more actionized. Anyway, we want to jump down here for a second because there's a chest that has a Gasha seed in it. Honestly, if you don't get that, you're just trying not to get Gasha seeds, which means you're not going for 100% unless you already got the heart piece, in which case I could understand that. Because I actually have had playthroughs where the Gasha seed's in the very first Gasha I get, and playthroughs where it's in the last one. Anyway, P-hats are back as usual, but this time you actually have to get them when they're down. Mind you, you had to do that back in Zelda 1, but here they're a lot more annoying. Now, this is actually kind of a tricky room. You're going to want both the Power Bracelet and the Rock's Feather equipped. What you need to do is get this pot right here over to that switch, which means you're going to need to do some platforming and pushing. Luckily, it's rather simple. Yet again, it's the early game, so they kind of need to do that. And great, this puzzle. But with that, and me murdering everything in this room, I'm gonna need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 5, I'll be finishing off the Winged Dungeon and seeing what else we can do out in the overworld in the process. See you guys then.